This is terrible. This is really nasty. For whatever reason, she's wearing a high-heeled boot and bare-leg miniskirt in the middle of this heavy snow. Her hair is long, curly, and a light brown color that almost looks blonde. She is the epitome of what a lady should be. How come? Of all locations, is there a gal here? I had no idea what to say because the circumstances were so strange. I am Jason. For a corporation, I am a system engineer. A system engineer oversees and maintains the company's online systems, as the name would imply. I occasionally have to work after hours, outside of typical business hours, in order to make modifications. I might be called in at any time of day or night if there's an issue, and it's not unusual to be on call all day in case something comes up. It's a challenging job. Hey, would you please come now? We are unable to complete any work because the lines are completely down. I had the day off because it was the weekend, but my boss Mitch contacted me in the evening. Mitch is a conceited individual who dictates to others how he pleases. He seems to believe that everything is irrelevant as long as he is all right. I ended up needing to report in for Mitch's weekend work even though I finally got a day free. The unfavorable weather this weekend was caused by the cold wave that began yesterday. I was unsure of the end time, so I took the car to the workplace. When we were finished, it was around 9:00 p.m. It was snowing fiercely outside, and there wasn't much people around to witness the snow piling up. I take it you drive a car. Mitch, who had completed getting ready before me, stated, as though it were clear, "Give me a ride." The web news said that all of the trains were running late and that there were a lot of people at the stations. Even though Mitch's house is farther away from mine, I doubt I could have made it home without getting him a ride in this circumstance. I drove him home reluctantly, but I was overly optimistic. The snow was about knee-deep when we stepped outside, and the wind felt like a storm. Additionally, there was a mound of snow next to the parking lot entrance, possibly as a result of the direction of the wind. Maybe because there aren't many other cars around. I ran back to the office in a panic and grabbed rubber gloves, a janitor's locker full of Wellington boots, and 2 shovels. To get the car out, I had to shovel the snow first. "Mitch, can you help me out here?" "What? Me? Why? You take care of your car." "It's my car, but I can't drive you home like this." After saying that, Mitch grudgingly grabbed a shovel and started to slowly and unenthusiastically move the snow. The moment we cleared the snow, more of it piled up. Because it was so wet and chilly, we shoveled quietly until we had enough room for the car. However, Mitch hurriedly climbed into the car without even bothering to put the tools away. He even dared to put on the warmth and start the engine. With a sigh, I closed them for the 2 of us. I let the wet instruments air dry by leaning them against a nearby wall. Upon returning to the vehicle, Mitch gave me a fierce look and remarked, "You're slow, you slug." His conceit was almost refreshing at this point. But there was a sound as we were ready to finally hop in the car and drive away. It had the sound of an automobile horn. What is that? Is there a problem? Perhaps someone is in need of assistance. Ignore it. There's more snow on top. Mitch insisted he was done shoveling, but the horn would not go off. I couldn't resist being inquisitive. But isn't there nobody else in the vicinity? What if someone truly requires assistance? Not being able to stop it, I walked back outside the automobile, believing that nobody would come to help in such a scenario. Mitch was screaming inside, "I'm not helping." "Do whatever you want," I said, but I quickly sprinted into the deep snow after grabbing the shovel, Wellingtons, and rubber gloves I had left outside to dry. Eventually, I followed the alarm sound and discovered a car partially submerged in snow. It was in a horrible state and parked in an open lot. A young woman was standing close by. She was strangely dressed in a miniskirt, bare legs, and high-heeled boots amid this deep snow. Her hair was long, lightly curled, light brown, almost blonde. She appeared to be the epitome of a lady. Oh man, this is seriously bad. The girl kept reaching into her pockets and fiddling with the contents of her purse. What's wrong? The vehicle won't start. Looks like I might have misplaced my key. Yes, it's awful, right? Wait, if you don't have the key, the car won't move, right? She probably tried to open the door without the key, setting off the auto security system and setting off the alarm. She kept trying to open the door because she didn't understand this, or maybe because she was terrified, but the alarm wouldn't go off. I told the gal not to touch the door for the time being while I considered my options. It is impossible to find the key in the snow, and it will take a long time to dig the automobile out due to its deep burying. It turned out that she needed to go close to Mitch's house when I asked where she needed to go. I offered to give her a ride in my car as she could come pick up her car tomorrow. I spoke with the woman for a short while as I made my way back to my car. Ashley is her name. Her grandfather is not in critical condition at the hospital, but she received a call stating he wasn't feeling well and hurried over in the deep snow. She frequently assists with her grandfather's care and household chores because her mother and grandmother are preoccupied with their jobs. In addition, she enjoys living and is pursuing her studies to become a care manager. My grandpa really spoilt me, and since my mom and grandma work, it's only natural for me to help out, she remarks nonchalantly, not boasting about anything particularly noteworthy. Her appearance and manner of speaking led me to believe that she was frivolous, and I felt bad about it. Are you serious? That is quite remarkable. I sincerely apologize for my misinterpretation. I simply believed you were just some gal based on the way you looked. For real? That's crazy, but everyone thinks that, so it's fine. I'm a gal after all. She laughs off brightly. More importantly, I'm going to post this on social media, so take a picture of me. She starts taking pictures with the heavy snow in the background. Let's take one together as a memory. I'll cover your face. She includes me in the picture. She immediately edits the photo and posts it on social media with the caption, "This snow is crazy." I'm relatively young myself, but I wouldn't think to do something like that. I haven't had many opportunities to interact with someone like Ashley, but it's refreshing and quite interesting. You're so slow. What were you doing? The snow must have piled up again. When I return to my car, Mitch is furious, having to wait. Moreover, the entrance of the parking lot is starting to get buried in snow again. I'd admit we're late, but his attitude is unacceptable. Still sitting in the car, he demands me to hurry up and clear the snow. Ashley sees Mitch and says, "What's with this old guy? If he wants it done faster, he should help too." Who is this silly girl? I'm a department head, his boss. I don't care. You're not my boss. Maybe you should quit a company with such a boss. Want to come work at my grandma's company. Ashley rebukes Mitch sharply while helping with the snow. Their back and forth is almost like a comedy duo, and it lightens the mood. I say, "Wow, your grandma is a president? That's impressive." Right? I may not look like it, but I'm a princess, Ashley jokes. Then Mitch got mad at me again. Just do it. Hurry up. While repeating this process, I somehow finish shoveling the snow and drive them, calming the two who are still bickering in the car. After that, Mitch starts to see me as someone who can handle troublesome people effectively. A few days later, when the snow has completely melted, Mitch calls me in. This time it's during regular business hours. Thinking it might be another system issue, I head over, only to be told there's a complaint from a major client. Handle it. Why me? I'm an engineer. Then, bringing up Ashley, he says, "You're good with difficult people, right? Just handle them like you did with that girl the other day," making an unreasonable request. Even though I argue that this situation is different, I'm somehow persuaded and end up going to the client with Mitch. The client is a company we do a lot of business with. Today, President Thompson, the head of the company, will handle the matter personally. I hear that President Thompson is a tough and renowned woman in her 60s, Feeling nervous, I'm led to the reception room. When President Thompson arrives, she looks at me and says, I've seen you somewhere. But I have no recollection of her. Still, she seems intrigued and examines my face closely. Well. Today, I brought Jason, our customer relations specialist, says Mitch, making up a non-existent department name and intending to leave everything to me, an engineer. Moreover, the complaint is about a sales-related issue completely unrelated to me, and I have no idea what's going on. As I'm wondering what to do, President Thompson suddenly says, I remember, and shows me her phone. There's a photo of me and Ashley on it from the other day in the snow. My granddaughter sent this to me. This is you, right? Your granddaughter. Jess called Ashley. Turns out Ashley is President Thompson's granddaughter. Since her childhood, Ashley, interested in fashion and hairstyles, used to wear and create her own unique styles, often attracting attention from her peers in school for her distinctive ideas. Starting around middle school, she embraced the gal style, drawing even colder judgment from society, often judged solely by her appearance without anyone bothering to understand her. However, on the day she met me, she happily told her grandmother, I met such a nice guy. He helped me with shoveling snow and even gave me a ride home when I was in trouble. It's the first time someone outside my family has been so kind. She was thrilled and sent her photo to President Thompson. She always looks out for her grandpa and is a great kid, aiming to be a care manager. But it's a shame she's not understood due to her hobbies and preferences. Sighs President Thompson. At first I thought, why does she dress like that? But she hasn't changed since she was little. I was embarrassed to have thought that about my granddaughter. You're the first to really see her for who she is. She seems so happy. I want to thank you for that. Really? Thank you. She expresses her gratitude. Then, glaring at Mitch, she says, and I heard from Ashley that you're an engineer. The original person in charge should be Mitch here, right? Seeing right through it, it seems she has always had a lack of trust in Mitch's casual approach. Meanwhile, Mitch turns pale upon hearing what President Thompson had to say. He must be regretting speaking ill of the president's granddaughter. Then Mitch's phone rings. It's a call from the company, and Mitch's complexion worsens even more upon answering. Apparently, a video that seems to feature Mitch has been posted on social media. The video, uploaded from Ashley's account, shows the interior of my car on that snowy day. Though the faces are hidden, it's clear that it's from when I was driving Mitch and Ashley. What's up with this gal? What a waste of time helping someone like her. I'd like to see what her parents look like. Such a foolish girl. Mitch is caught on video hurling insults at me and Ashley. The comments are overwhelmingly critical, saying things like, "That's awful. I wouldn't want a boss like that." It has become a hot topic on social media. A colleague who was checking social media for work found this video and recognized Mitch's voice. Soon, an attitude in the office is abuzz with this rumor. You always blame others when things go wrong. As someone in a position of authority, you should take responsibility for your actions. I'll tell Ashley to delete the video, so make sure you apologize properly, President Thompson advised Mitch, who trembled and nodded repeatedly. When President Thompson contacts Ashley, she gets flustered immediately. Upon being told about the social media post, Ashley says, "That one. I just deleted it. I was a bit annoyed when I posted it, but maybe it was rash, showing signs of regret. The individual in question is in front of me right now." She hands Mitch the phone and says, "I'll hand it over so you can talk." With hesitation, Mitch answers the phone and begins to talk. "I apologize. I went too far. I only use your appearance to make a snap judgment about you without knowing anything about you. Really, it's not that bad. Everyone does that. But if you have that attitude, you'll make others despise you, including that guy and the individuals you work with. I take it you're a big shot?" Ashley laughs and forgave him, sounding older than she actually is. You have to value people, she says. After that, Mitch apologizes a lot. Ashley has such a forgiving heart for her age, and for that I am grateful and full of respect. Caring for others and having empathy are more essential than appearances or age. These characteristics enable us to sympathize with and address the suffering of others. In this instance, Ashley's initial upload of the post was removed. It must have occurred to you that you should have removed it before someone pointed it out of regard for them. Now that you know, Mitch, please bring a better strategy by next week. I have faith in you, President Thompson says. Mitch gave a gloomy nod. After that, Mitch kept showing up for work as usual. However, after some time, he relocated to a different branch and filed for a transfer. Within the workplace, there is a widespread belief, if unconfirmed, that he is the person in the video. He felt uncomfortable when he saw the harsh criticism left in the comments section. Even though he was more quieter than normal, he must have felt uncomfortable at his new branch. I pray that he never forgets what Ashley said. As for me, I continue to work as a system engineer and see Ashley on occasion. For a while, she continued to identify as a gal. Then one day she made the abrupt decision to stop, altering both her appearance and her speech pattern. I didn't want to bother Grandma indefinitely, but I thought being a gal was my thing. Ashley remarked, "Besides, there are people who see me for who I am, like you," exuding a confidence and attractiveness that was distinct from her gal days. Maybe now she's revealing the beauty of her inner self. As a care manager, she appears to be leading a fulfilling life. I want to always be reminded not to criticize others based on their age or appearance.
You useless shit. My daughter ought to get a divorce from you. My dad-in-law, because I work from home, Tom treats me like I don't have a job. He has consistently acted aggressively against my wife, Ava, and me. This was his final opportunity to turn around. That was my objective when I reached out to him. I finally just said, "I understand. You slowpoke, so if you get it, start acting on it." This appears to be your response. He ignored Tom's ongoing ranting and remarked, "That's very disappointing." I ended the call. Tom contacted my cell phone several times the following day. It appears that the main family residence called him on this issue, which suggests that he was in a desperate situation. However, it was too late. His constant bothersome calls have been blocked by me. I'm a systems engineer at X's Systems, a significant IT company, and I'm 40 years old. My name is Henry. Our business specializes on creating IC solutions for educational settings, web teaching resources, and keyboard input software. You probably use X's Systems goods on a regular basis, even if you aren't familiar with the brand. X's Systems, which generated over $4.5 billion in sales during the previous fiscal year, is a cornerstone of social infrastructure. In addition to being a web producer, I began my career creating input software. At the moment, I work in the education support department developing educational systems. Our organization is putting a lot of effort into this field. Being acknowledged for my ability is truly satisfying. Even though the work atmosphere may be difficult at times and requires day and night effort. Since I got married and had a family 2 years ago, I've been especially passionate about my work lately. This year, my wife, Ava, turns 29. Her family has a distinguished history, owns multiple businesses, and is a powerful force in and of itself. I work for X's Systems, which is a part of the Hadley Group. Through an arranged marriage, I got to meet Ava, who is a lot younger than me. Kay Hadley, Ava's grandma, arranged our encounter after observing my commitment to my job. When we got married, I adopted Ava's family name, which is customary in well-known families, but I don't regret it. Ava is a beautiful woman, and I am thankful to have met her. But there's one thing that irritates me. Ava's relationship with her father, Tom, has never been good. Tom has had good control over Ava. It seems that Tom's refusal to allow Ava to deviate from her assigned duty has prevented her from pursuing her dream of a career in education since she was a little child. I've lived with Tom since our marriage, so I've seen directly how much power he has over Ava. Ava, a unique example of a refined and peaceful woman, seemed incapable of resisting her father. Kay took matters into her own hands since she was worried about her granddaughter's circumstances, which allowed us to get married. She attended the scheduled meeting as well. Tom has the worst opinion of me, possibly as a result of these circumstances. I'm almost a criminal to him because I took Ava away. I try to minimize conflict because I feel like he would follow us even if we moved away. I'm all right. More than everything, I want to release Ava from Tom's grasp, yet I can put up with irrational treatment. I was trying, but nothing was getting better. There was a movement started by the change in my workplace. I briefly switched to working mostly from home at X's Systems due to departmental reorganization and the construction of new buildings. I would have to confront this more directly than before. Henry, is this the demo screen for the new system? Ava asked. Yes, it's still in development, so we can't go public with it yet, I replied. While I was working in my study today, Ava brought me some tea for a break. Peering into the PC screen, she nodded to herself. I see you're controlling the eye movement to make it easier to move to the next screen. It seems like it would be easy for children to understand. Ava's comments were spot on. As a direct descendant of a prestigious family that has produced numerous business people, Ava is very talented. Being able to grasp the key points just by looking at the screen, she would definitely give clear and understandable lessons if she were teaching. It's truly a waste that she's bound by her parents and not allowed to work. Just as I was thinking this, the study door was abruptly flung open. Ava, how long are you going to dot on that man? Come out right now. Tom shouted. Father, I was just bringing Henry some tea. That man doesn't need your tea. Tom, with veins bulging at his temples, shouted angrily. He is Z's father and my father-in-law. He's currently 58 years old. He seems to be an executive at a subsidiary of the Hadley family's business. But although he's called an executive, he's always either off on so-called business trips that seem more like hospitality vacations or indulging in golf. I hate to say it, but it's a situation where calling him a salary thief wouldn't be out of line. Apparently, he used to be competent at his job, but it seems he's become numb to the prestige of the family name over time. I thought Ava shouldn't be yelled at anymore, so I assured her out of the room. Then Tom looked at me with disdain. Thinking you were something, using a computer as if you're a professional, even though you've been fired. Tom, as I've said before, this is remote work and I have not been fired from my company. Tom adamantly refuses to let me call him Dad. Likewise, he has never once called me by my name. Don't lie, you thief. I know the truth. You're always at home during the day, and then you sneak out at night. If that's not proof of being unemployed, what is? I work from my home office during the day. The reason I went out at night was due to a sudden call for support from my workplace. Although I admit that having no distinction between day and night is a problem, Tom is way too lacking in understanding remote work. It seems he views me as scum, pretending not to be fired, even though he was being so disliked due to prejudice. It makes it hard to know how to respond. You jobless good-for-nothing. You should just leave this house and Ava behind. Muttering to himself, Tom left the study. I leaned back in my chair and let out a deep sigh. A few days later, as usual, I was working from home and went down to the living room for a break. There, unusually, I came upon Ava and Tom arguing. Ava, wake up for once. He's no good. Father, you're always saying terrible things about Henry. He's not like that at all. Though her voice was soft, Ava clearly argued back. Tom seemed frustrated that Ava, who had always been obedient, wasn't listening to him lately. I stepped between them, of course, to stand up for Ava. Tom, please calm down. Stop raising your voice at Ava. You, Ava, thank you for speaking up for me, she said. It's okay. Here, go down and take a moment to relax. Ava seemed to have something to say, but I escorted her out of the living room. I then faced Tom. He was gritting his teeth, glaring at me fiercely. Ava's changed attitude is because you've been whispering in her ear, isn't it? I'll never forgive you. That's not true. It's because you, Tom, continue to overly control Ava. It's time you realize that. In my desire to protect Ava, my words grew heated. Trembling with anger, Tom suddenly pushed me. You think I'm the one restraining Ava? Ridiculous. There's no one in this world who understands Ava better than I do. It's that very attitude that's restraining her. I replied, fine. If you insist on saying that, I have my own plan. With that, Tom stormed out of the living room. I was somewhat taken aback, expecting more insults than that, but there was no way he would just back down quietly. The next day, it was a normal working day. I had planned a meeting with clients about the educational system we introduced last month. Meeting in person builds a different kind of trust than online meetings. Although online is convenient, some educators are not familiar with digital devices or systems and may feel resistant. Explaining the product usage and benefits carefully is also an important part of our job. I believe that these efforts lead to finding new clients. By the time the hearing was over, it was already evening. I was allowed to go straight home. I headed back, but at the front door, I noticed something was off. The key doesn't fit. The key that had worked fine in the morning now wouldn't fit the lock. I had a bad feeling. Just then, a voice called out from the second-floor balcony. "What's the hurry? You look like a child who's been locked out, Tom. Don't tell me you. I won't let someone who's corrupting Ava across this threshold. There's no place for you in this house. Just leave, you incompetent." I couldn't believe it. He changed the locks while I was at work. "What does Ava say about this?" I asked. "She doesn't want to see you. Poor thing. She must really hate living with you." Tom exaggeratedly shrugged. I called out Ava's name several times, but there was no response from inside the house. Something was clearly wrong. As I considered breaking a window to check inside, a message suddenly arrived on my phone. It was from Ava. "I'm okay. Please contact me when my father is not around." The message included a phone number. Relieved that Ava was safe for now, I silently got into my car, leaving Tom laughing uproariously. I drove off. In a distant parking lot, I called the number Ava had given me. It was her family's home number. When she answered, she shared something shocking. While I was at work, Tom had ordered one of his subordinates to possibly take Ava back to her parents' house. The subordinate was a manager at the company where Tom was an executive. His repeated apologies made it clear he was someone who couldn't defy Tom. All this just to drive me out. "Henry, please come to the Hadley residence today. There's a lot we need to discuss." Ava's words, laden with determination, made me nod, and I started the car. Ava's family home is the main house of the Hadley family, a distinguished family that leads some of the top businesses in America, serving as their headquarters, so to speak. The estate is correspondingly vast. It was my first visit to Ava's family home since we reported our marriage. Guided by someone who seemed to be a servant, I was directed not to the central building for receiving guests, but to the main house where the Hadley family members live. "Henry, are you all right?" Ava asked. "I'm relieved to see you. I was worried about you," I said. Ava greeted me at the entrance of the main house. Given that she had been possibly taken away, I was worried about what had happened to her. But thankfully, she seemed unharmed. "But why would Tom do something like this?" I asked. "I think he's trying to separate us. He said that a mongrel and incompetent man like me has no place in the prestigious Hadley main house. He expected that I would be turned away at the gate." I thought to myself that I had been guided here quite politely. Then, a woman came from the back. "Mongrel and incompetent? Really? Who is he to say such things?" she said. She stood straight, impeccably dressed in an elegant one-piece. I quickly greeted her. "It's been a while, Kay. I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused." "You needn't worry about that. Come in, please." Those were the welcoming words of Ava's grandmother, Kay. At 73, she showed no signs of her age. She is the current head of the Hadley family. I was led to the parlor and sat across from Kay, with Ava sitting next to me. "Earlier, you mentioned mongrel and incompetent. Who does he think he is speaking like that?" I asked with some exasperation. "Well, it's about time I tell you about Ava's stepfather, Tom," Kay began to explain. "It turns out Tom is not actually related by blood to Ava. He became part of the family through an adoption arrangement. So he is Ava's stepfather. Ava's biological father died in an accident before she was old enough to remember. Her biological mother, Mary, has always been frail and is currently recuperating in a facility. Concerned that the family line might end, the Hadley family welcomed Tom as a son-in-law when Ava was still young. At that time, Tom, a so-called energetic employee, seemed like he could lead the frail Mary and young Ava. It appears that judgment was a major mistake," Kay muttered with a heavy sigh. I looked at Ava. "Did you know about this? That Tom was your adoptive father." "This is the first I've heard of it. I only found out recently. The plan was to have a proper discussion once I came of age, but given the poor relationship I have with my father, my mother and grandmother were hesitant about when to tell me. If the rift deepened, I wouldn't know how my mental state would cope, nor what father might do next." "I see, that explains it. Perhaps Tom clings to Ava so much because he feels insecure about his position. As long as he controls Ava, he can feel like a part of the Hadley family, I said. That's outrageous, Ava replied. Then, with a resolve in her voice, Ava said, I can forgive my father for this. I'm not his puppet anymore. I want to make that clear to him. Well said, Ava. You've become so strong. Maybe it's because you're with Henry, Kay said with a gentle smile. Henry, could I ask for your help with something? Yes, I'll do anything I can. I want Ava to be free too, I answered firmly. Then, we began to plan our resistance against Tom. Ava was surprisingly proactive at this time. It seemed she couldn't tolerate what had been done to me any longer. Allowed to stay in the main house for a while, I called Tom the next morning with Ava by my side. This call was intended to be my final ultimatum. Hello, Tom. This is Henry. I'm calling today because there's something important we need to discuss. You again? It's useless to ask for forgiveness now. You are not suitable for Ava or the Hadley family. Know your place. Tom, your methods this time have been too rough. It's unforgivable to involve Ava like this. I'll say this only once. Apologize to Ava and change your ways. Tom, you bastard. Are you with Ava right now? He yelled. Unforgivable. You good for nothing. Tom flew into a rage. He ignored my warning and continued unilaterally. You jobless trash. Divorce my daughter. As long as you're around Ava, I'll keep tearing you away from her. His yelling was so loud that Ava heard everything clearly. I nodded at Ava. She nodded back firmly. I responded, understood. If you understand, then act on it. You slowpoke. Don't think you can rely on the main family. This is all your fault. You're the one to blame for everything. You pay all the alimony. You understand. I see that this is your response. That's very disappointing, Tom, I said, ignoring his continued shouting. I hung up the phone. Ava spoke up. Leave the rest to me. It may be too late, but are you sure you're okay with this? It doesn't seem like your style, I asked. No problem. Grandma is with me. Besides, I want to show that I've changed since meeting you, Ava said with a bright smile. The next day, as I was driving to work, I noticed a call from Tom. Ignoring it, my phone kept ringing nonstop. It was an absurd amount of calls. The main family has probably contacted Tom to question him about this incident. He probably hadn't anticipated that his demands for our divorce would reach the main family. The next day, he seemed quite desperate from the incessant amount of calls, but it was too late for him. I decided to block his number. Several days later, thanks to Kay's generosity, I was staying at the Hadley main house for a while. The staff was attentive, providing me with everything I could need. Still, I couldn't take their kindness for granted. That day, I headed to the office to gather necessary documents for the plan. I also needed to overcome the fact that I was temporarily unable to use my home PC. Fortunately, my home PC was locked and necessary information was saved in the cloud, so there was no worry about Tom misusing it. Having finished my tasks, I returned to the Hadley main house. Tom was standing at the entrance of the mansion, arguing with a servant. It seemed he was complaining about not being allowed on the property. When he noticed me in the car, he marched straight toward me. You? Why are you here? This is the Hadley main house. It's no place for jobless trash like you. And what are you doing here? Tom asked, his voice seething with anger. I asked him calmly, what is it, Tom? My calmness seemed to infuriate him. He slammed his hand on the driver's side door, ignoring my calls. And you dare to spread lies about me to the main family? Just watch. Once you're divorced from Ava and back to being a nobody, I'll crush you easily. Now get out of here, you trash. I'm afraid I don't understand what you're saying, and I no longer need to listen to your lies, I replied, ignoring his continued rage. I drove the car onto the property as usual, and a servant courteously guided me in. Tom was taken aback. Hey, why are you letting him in so easily? If he goes through, let me through too. Move. I'm sorry, but without permission, I cannot allow you to enter, the servant said. Damn it. Why? Why is he treated better than me? Tom shouted. Even with the windows up, I could still hear him yelling as I parked the car and headed toward the main house. Kay was standing at the entrance. Welcome back, Henry. I heard the commotion. He must have tried to force his way in. Yes, I said. How is Ava doing? She seems to have made up her mind. She finally looks like she truly belongs to the Hadley family. Kay replied. That's thanks to you, Henry. I shook my head. Ava is the remarkable one. Breaking free from years of suppression is no small feat. I've just been supporting her. since getting married. I've been so busy with work that Ava has been my support. Now it's my time to support her in pursuing what she wants to do. I gripped my briefcase tightly. Kay noticed and nodded. It seems you've managed to gather the necessary documents. Yes, here they are. Good. Today, many of the family's key members are here. That man probably came knowing this too. It's a good opportunity. Let's start with the plan we discussed. Kay instructed a servant to direct Tom to the guest building for visitors. Henry will join the family meeting as well. Is that all right? Of course. Ava has become dependable, but having you by her side will surely reassure her, Kay said with relief. I nodded firmly. A few minutes later, in the Hadley family's large reception room, Kay and other important family members lined up. Among them were executives from X Systems. I nodded silently to the executives and sat next to Ava. Tom sat alone at the lowest seat, seemingly not expecting to be brought before the Hadley family's dignitaries. Though initially blustering, now he sat silently, frequently wiping sweat from his forehead. Then Ava stood up and greeted the assembled group politely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gathering here despite your busy schedules. Today, I have something important to discuss regarding my father, Tom. Her tone was dignified and commanding. Many people here had known Ava since she was young, and they narrowed their eyes with admiration at how much stronger she had become compared to before. This showed how much she was loved by those connected to the Hadley family. Ava took a deep breath. Recently, I was coerced by Tom to divorce my husband under the pretense that a jobless trash like me shouldn't be with him. A murmur of, "Oh," was heard from one of the X Systems executives. He was aware of my work performance, and his gaze turned sharply toward Tom, causing Tom to flinch. Ava continued her accusation. I truly love my husband. He has supported me through my moments of weakness. Yet Tom tried to separate me from him and even locked us out of our home. Neither my husband nor I can return to our home right now. The looks from the dignitaries grew increasingly stern, and sweat poured down Tom's face like a waterfall. His body seemed as if it was on pins and needles. I have lived under Tom's control for too long, and I've reached my limit. Today, I gathered you all here to share my feelings and my situation. Wait, Ava, that's a misunderstanding. Everything is that man's fault. Tom suddenly pointed at me and raised his voice, setting up such a scene. It must be his instigation, right? There's no way I would do something so presumptuous. Presumptuous? Ava murmured, and Tom fell silent. I spoke up. Tom, these are Ava's true feelings. She has been suffering under your presence for a long time. She finally gathered the courage to express her feelings, and you dismissed them as presumptuous. You? What do you know about Ava? Tom shouted, grinding his teeth. Ironically, his words only highlighted to the dignitaries that he didn't understand anything about Ava. Ava no longer met Tom's gaze and addressed the assembled dignitaries politely again. Please, everyone, I ask for your appropriate judgment on him. It was an unexpected counterattack from a doctor long constrained. The unyielding stares from those of higher status than himself made Tom completely flustered, but the real matter was yet to begin. Let us now confirm the agenda for today. Kay, who had been silent until then, finally spoke. About Tom Hadley. Here, could someone inform us of his contributions? One of the executives stood up with documents in hand. Tom is currently an external consultant for AG Trading. However, his actual contributions over the last few years are minimal. He has repeatedly used company hospitality funds under the guise of training and meetings to hop between cities. Furthermore, several managers who endured his oppressive leadership have either voluntarily resigned due to health issues or have requested demotions. The executive slapped the paper down. From all this, his contributions to our group are virtually none, if not negative. Thank you for the clarification. Now, Tom, do you have anything to say for yourself? It's wrong. All of it. It's fabricated, Tom shouted. The executive, who had been accused of fabricating the report, glared at Tom. Kide, no valid counterargument. Well then, let's make a decision for the separation of Tom from the family and his expulsion, and for placing Henry in his stead. All in favor, please raise your hands. Huh. Tom was stunned. Truth be told, I was nearly surprised myself. The idea of me taking Tom's place was news to me. However, the dignitaries raised their hands effortlessly without hesitation. Among those present were executives from X Systems. It's unanimous, then? I don't accept this. Tom shouted suddenly. And to think that jobless trash is my replacement. It's absurd. He's more incompetent than I am. Whether he's incompetent or not, let's have him explain for himself, Kay said, giving me a nod. I pulled out documents from my briefcase and walked over to Tom. Please take a look at this. These are the special sales figures for the team I lead, $60,000. The ICD service I'm involved with has been adopted by private schools in the city. Thanks to its positive reception, we've received several inquiries from clients interested in implementing the service, and sales are expected to continue growing. Tom's hands trembled as he held the documents. Kay said with a smile, $60,000 a month? That's about 10 times what you made in your heyday, Tom. And yet, you still consider Henry less capable than yourself. Do we really need an advisor who can't properly assess performance? Tom could only grunt, his face red with anger. Kay then declared, we will expel Tom Hadley from the family. A servant grabbed Tom's arm to lead him out of the mansion. I said to Tom, you were a shackle on Ava. That ends today. From now on, Ava and I will live freely. Damn it. Tom was forcibly removed, leaving behind a frustrated scream. Afterward, Tom was officially divorced, and Ava's adoption was announced. Without the family's backing, he was also dismissed from his advisory role at AG Trading. Having misused his power for so long, Tom was no longer capable of holding down a job and suddenly found himself without any income. His excessive pride became his downfall. He moved out on his own and is now living a destitute life in a cheap apartment, scraping by day to day. Meanwhile, I was appointed head of the Education Support Department upon the completion of the new company building. Leveraging my expertise, I have also been promised a future advisory post at AG Trading. Ava started working as a web instructor using the system I developed. Now engaged in the education sector she had always admired, she is thriving daily. Her refined demeanor and inherent abilities quickly made her a popular instructor. Ava, who had been constrained for so long, was finally living freely. I felt increasingly proud of my work, knowing that the system I created was helping someone so important to me. One day, Ava and I were invited by Kay to visit the family home. Sitting side by side on the peaceful porch, we enjoyed some tea. In contrast to our busy lives, this relaxed moment felt like the ultimate luxury. This ordeal must have been troublesome for you, Kay said. Not at all. In this day and age, arranging marriages for the sake of the family may seem like an outdated notion, I replied. Henry, if you ever feel burdened by your relationship with Ava or us, you are free to live your life as you see fit. Ava looked at me, seeing that she didn't respond to Kay's offer, and suggested she might be afraid of imposing constraints like Tom did. My response was clear. Then I'll continue to contribute more to the family. My feelings haven't changed since the day I met Ava. I took Ava's hand. I have no regrets about marrying Ava. She is the most important woman to me, and that will never change. Henry, I feel the same way. Ava smiled shyly as she squeezed my hand back. Oh, you two are sweet. Kay gave a warm smile, and both of us returned the smile.
There are sandwich shops everywhere. Quickly go dine by yourself, you recent high school graduate. For the company's induction ceremony, I had ordered lunch for 70 new hires, but the manager, a Harvard graduate, modified the menu without my consent, and my lunch never arrived. Then he told me that. He even laughed with the new hires and made fun of me for only having a high school diploma. I eventually lost my temper and told the management and the new hires something since my rage was building inside of me. My name is Rick. I recently started working for a large corporation and I'm 43 years old. Work hard in your job, Daddy. Enjoy your day, my love. I was working hard for my family and I was fortunate to have a wife and a child who encouraged me as I went to work. However, a male counterpart of a bully at work appeared one day to interfere with my day-to-day activities. Are you really only a high school graduate? Why is a recent high school graduate employed here? In any case, even if you ask me why, I stumbled. When John, the manager, came up to me, he asked me that. John looked at me as though he was demanding a prompt response while I was perplexed. Yes, as you say, I graduated from high school. So it's accurate. How in the world did a recent high school graduate join our organization? Here, the majority of us have college degrees. I graduated from Harvard, by the way. Wow, that's impressive. John made a snide remark about being a Harvard graduate after learning that I had only completed high school. It seems that he placed a high priority on academic training. I turned away from John and went back to work to avoid any problems. But John began bugging me after that day. Do these documents. He occasionally threw documents at me. At other times, he used me as much as possible by making me clean and even sending me on errands. Are you all right? You appear pallid. Perhaps you ought to speak with someone. It appeared that my face was displaying signs of tension as John's harassing persisted, and my wife was quite concerned. I shook my head, though. I recently moved here, and he is the manager. I'd rather not cause a scene. Even so, I'm worried. It's all right. When the need arises, I have a plan. That's how I reassured my wife. My wife was likely on edge, concerned that my health would worsen, knowing the circumstances from a few days prior. But I would lose my manhood if I gave up on something like this. Well then, I'm off for the day. Daddy, do your best. My darling youngster cheered me on whether they knew or not, and I went to work with the intention of winning. Take care of these papers today, Rick. If you want to be close to a Harvard graduate and manager like me, you have to undertake this kind of work. You're correct. Let me handle it. Fueled by my family's encouragement, even when John increased my workload again, I took it on with enthusiasm. John, who watched me in astonishment, didn't bother me at all, and I even gained skills. It was a win-win situation for me. Learning things could change depending on my approach and mindset, I continued to positively handle any harassment from John, turning it into skill development. Hey, I don't understand this part. Then, as I grew, other employees started approaching me for help. Instead of asking the angry John, they asked me when they didn't understand something. I made sure to explain things politely. This part can be improved if you do it this way. Thank you, Rick. You're so reliable. But seeing the happy smile of the employee made me happy too. A year passed as I continued doing these tasks, and finally spring arrived. Rick, could you order lunch for 70 new employees? Understood, John. As we were preparing for the entrance ceremony, John asked me that. Of course, I agreed and answered him. Likewise, there hadn't been any trouble with John recently, so without much thought, I called the sandwich shop and placed the order. Then, on the day of the entrance ceremony, our company president stepped onto the stage and spoke to the new employees through a microphone. Congratulations to all the new employees. We are very pleased to welcome 70 new members to our company today. As you become a part of society, we expect you to grow significantly as important personnel in our company, carrying a sense of responsibility and awareness. With the president's speech ending, the induction ceremony concluded, and it was time for lunch. I saw the delivery car from the sandwich shop arriving, and I started handing out the sandwich boxes to the new employees one by one. I had ordered enough for all of our employees. But as I was handing them out, I noticed that mine was missing. That's strange. I'm sure I ordered enough for everyone. Looking at the receipt I received from the delivery person, I noticed that the number was one less than what I had ordered over the phone. When I immediately asked the delivery person, they told me that there was a change made after my order. It was a call from your company's manager. He said there were too many sandwich boxes ordered, so he asked to reduce it by one. Didn't you know about this? Seeing my surprised reaction, the delivery person asked gently. Coming to my senses, I told him it was fine, and the delivery person cheerfully greeted me and left. Holding the receipt, I went to see John, who was happily eating his sandwich, surrounded by the new employees at a prepared table. John, can I have a word with you? I need to talk. What is it, Rick? Can't you see I'm eating with the new employees? Read the room, will you? John smirked at me, having guessed the topic of my conversation. That really ticked me off. Looking around, the new employees, already aware of the situation, started snickering. Still, I wasn't intimidated and spoke up again. I didn't get my lunch. I definitely ordered enough, but the sandwich shop said the order was changed afterward. They said it was you who called. I was entrusted with the order, so I would like an explanation for the change. Suppressing my anger, I calmly conveyed this, but hearing it, John laughed at me even more. You figured it out quickly, didn't you, high school grad? You wanted to look good in front of the new employees, but it backfired, didn't it? At that moment, John and the new employees burst out laughing. I had approached it as part of my job and never intended to show off, but it seemed I had fallen right into John's trap. Too bad for you. All the new employees are on my side. After all, they're all college graduates. There's not a single high school grad among them. They are all better than you. You're still stuck on academic background, huh? Of course. Even as I answered in a low tone, John replied confidently. Some of the employees here are high school grads like you, and they seem to understand you to some extent. But I won't be fooled. From the perspective of college grads, high school grads do crap work. It's a win for the excellent college grads. John's biased view of prioritizing academic background showed no sign of stopping. That's why, as an interviewer, I didn't accept any high school grads and chose the excellent college grads here. They follow me properly, and they're all loyal and helpful, unlike someone with just a high school diploma. Despite not arguing with John and following him as an employee, I still seemed inferior to the college grads. Sandwich shops are everywhere. Go eat alone quickly, you high school grad. Bringing the topic back to the sandwich, John urged me to leave the room. At that point, I completely lost my cool. Fine then. All of you consider your job offers canceled. Huh? The new employees, unable to grasp my smiling words, immediately raised their voices in confusion. Their bewilderment made me chuckle. Looking at John, he wore the same dumbfounded expression. I wanted to burst out laughing, but I felt it was necessary to explain things to everyone, so I continued speaking. Didn't you hear me? For those of you who are a bit slow to understand, I'll say it again. I said I'm canceling the job offers of all the new employees here that John selected. What? What nonsense are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? You're just an employee and a high school graduate at that. You can't do something like that. John started laughing again, joined by the new employees. Are you planning to report this to the president? Who do you think the president will believe? A mere employee or me, the manager? Of course, the president will believe the mere employee. John. Suddenly the president appeared and everyone turned to look at him. John and the employees were taken aback. President? Why are you here? Did Rick call you? While everyone was stunned by the president's sudden appearance, John tried to ingratiate himself with the president. What he's saying is complete nonsense. You shouldn't trust him. If anything, you should fire him. The new employees here are trouble because of him. John sought confirmation from the new employees. The new employees, along with the other employees, nodded in agreement with John. But I'm the one who's troubled. After letting out a huge sigh, the president said that, causing John to look confused. I'm saying that I'd be troubled if Rick were to leave. Rick is my son, and he will take over this company. Son? John and the new employees were shocked as they realized the truth about me, as revealed by my father, the president. The new employees turned pale, believing my father's words. I heard you tampered with a lunch order, making sure my son didn't get his lunch. I was just being considerate, thinking Rick's wife would make him a homemade lunch. Hearing my father's angry words, John hastily tried to excuse himself. His feeble excuses were obvious and embarrassing to witness. I had never mentioned my wife to John, but the fact that he knew and had investigated gave me chills. I told my wife the company would provide lunch today, so she didn't make me one. Oh, I see. Sorry about that. John apologized awkwardly with a forced smile. It seemed like the matter was resolved, but my father had been listening to the entire conversation between me and John from outside the door, so he knew everything. When I looked at my father, it was clear he wasn't going to let this slide. John, I already know you've been belittling employees' academic backgrounds around here. You weren't always like this. Recalling the past, my father began to speak. John used to be someone who earnestly faced his work. However, seeing how John had changed, my father looked genuinely disappointed. That's why I hired you without hesitation. Even though you graduated from Harvard, you worked hard and climbed the ranks through your efforts, and I believed you'd become a cornerstone of the company. But now I feel utterly betrayed. Sir, I'm deeply humbled by your high expectations. But regardless of what your son told you, I've been a reliable leader, as shown by how the new employees follow me. Betrayed, you say? That's preposterous. John insisted he was doing his job properly, but his anxiety was evident, and he lacked conviction. Looking back at new employees, they were too shocked to say anything. Facing both me and the president, they likely started to realize their own complicity. The new employees followed you not just because you're the manager, right? What do you mean, Rick? John's nervousness was apparent as I continued to press. I pulled out an investigation report from inside my suit. I just received the investigation results. It turns out that during your time as an examiner and interviewer, you conducted hostile interviews towards high school graduate applicants. What? John was shocked by my words as I calmly read from the report. Ignoring John's reaction, I continued speaking. I obtained testimony from many high school graduate applicants that day. Would you like to hear the statement sent to my phone by the investigators? No. I don't need that. It's all lies. In anticipation of such events, I decided to employ investigators around last winter when I was preparing to take over my father's business. These investigators are former detectives, and they work among the employees. It's not a lie. As I firmly declared this, John was shocked to learn that there were former detectives among the employees. He seemed genuinely unable to believe that investigators had been placed without his knowledge. Originally, I wanted to create an environment where all employees could work with peace of mind, which is why I hired investigators. We also plan to set up a consultation office in the future, and we are proceeding with that. I'm sorry that I had to involve the investigators for my own situation right away. That doesn't matter. Why should a high school graduate be able to jump over me, a Harvard graduate manager, to become the next president? President, aren't you ashamed to favor your own son? John, his anger rising at my words, now directed his fury at my father, the president. But my father didn't back down, glaring sharply at John. You're the last person who should be talking about favoritism based on academic background. My son worked at his previous company for decades, intentionally avoiding mine. He did a great job and finally came over to take the baton of my company. And now you dare to disparage him with your narrow-minded view. By the way, at his previous company, he was the vice president. Do you still think it's unfair for him to become the next president? As my father and I pressed John, he seemed at a loss, realizing he hadn't known this. It's not something I usually brag about unless asked. Saying it myself feels quite embarrassing. No matter how great my background is, I don't use it as a shield. I stated that firmly, leaving John stunned. For someone so fixated on academic background, the fact that I, a high school graduate, had been a vice president elsewhere was likely a severe blow to his pride. But to drive the point home, I spoke up again. I requested the investigation because your behavior was against our company's policy, and all the employees you hired as an interviewer were college graduates. Our company accepts high school graduates without discrimination, as I was well aware. John's face turned pale, clearly not expecting his actions to be exposed. Seeing this, my father cleared his throat and addressed John. Since you conducted hostile interviews, it's a company scandal. I plan to step down as president and pass the baton to my son. This is 2 years earlier than planned, but my son can handle it. You will also be disciplined accordingly. John stood in stunned silence, devastated by my father's words. My father then turned his attention to the new employees. I'm sorry, but you all also showed your disdain for high school graduates. Therefore, we decided to cancel your job offers. The new employees, too, fell into despair. Some began to cry and beg my father to reconsider, thinking of their disappointed parents. President were so sorry. Although it was easy to foresee their tears, I hoped they would take this as an opportunity to reflect on their actions. Due to the hostile interviews conducted by the interviewer, we deeply regret and apologize to the victims and their guardians. We are truly sorry. The next day, my father and I explained the situation to the victims and their guardians and apologized. We also announced that the job offers for the college graduates had been revoked and that John had been dismissed. Angry parents yelled at us for the treatment of their children, but we apologized sincerely. Parents naturally want the best for their children, since this affects their lives. It reinforced my determination to create a better company. Rick, I entrust the company to you. My father, looking exhausted, entrusted the company to me. He seemed to blame himself endlessly for the scandal, so I asked him to let me handle it. From now on, I'll take care of it. Dad, thank you. Mom, contact me if anything happens. With that, I left my parents' house. Fortunately, my mother was there to take care of things at my parents' house, which was a great help. My mother looked distressed seeing my father so exhausted, but she assured me she would take care of him, and I was deeply grateful for that. Meanwhile, John tried to find another job in the same industry, but was completely blacklisted and had to take up a different line of work. He now works as a laborer at a construction site, doing hard physical labor far removed from his previous role as a manager. For someone like John, who had grown complacent in his managerial position, physical labor might be the best way to rebuild his character. As for me, I successfully took over the company from my father. And when I revealed to the employees that I had joined to become the next president, they welcomed me warmly. With both my father and John suddenly gone, the employees had been anxious, but they were relieved when they understood that I, the president's son, would take over. The cancellation of the job offers for the new employees was successfully carried out, and the company conducted new tests and interviews. I, as the president, also attended, making decisions on the spot along with other examiners and interviewers. A few months later, with the inclusion of the new hires, the company we rebuilt together surpassed its previous performance. We established a consultation office where employees could discuss any issues at any time. And as the president, I also listened and helped find solutions. The investigators continued their work without revealing their identities. Thanks to you, President Rick, I was able to reconcile with my supervisor. Thank you so much. Hearing direct thanks from an employee who had resolved a conflict made me happy. I wondered if things might have been different if I had talked to someone about my issues with John when I was still an employee. Thinking that, I realized I still had a long way to go as a president. I put the past behind me. The present reality, built by my efforts and those of the employees, is something that shouldn't be denied. With that in mind, I continue to strive for further development of the company as its president.